Next is Dustin Hawks. He's an Iraq War veteran.
Hello, Dustin Hawks, D-U-S-T-I-N-H-A-W-K-S, U.S. Navy veteran. Veterans are the working class. When they come home, jobs need to be available, good living wage jobs. Veterans for Peace recognizes the important role of organized labor in making this possible, and recognizes workers' rights are human rights. We support the statement put out by Scott Olsman, veteran from Oakland, that veterans respect labor and expect all workers to respect our community.
And next is Nina Ryerson. She's a non-unionized worker here in Portland.
Hi, that's Nina, N-I-N-A, Ryerson, R-E-I-E-R-S-O-N. The ports are an example of the broken system. The message of our community picket is that working people will shut down the production and distribution of the 1% because this production and distribution unfairly benefits the 1%. As a member of this community, I face attacks on my right to organize a union. I face deep cuts to critical public programs. I lack health care, and even our homes are under attack. The inequality of wealth and power in this country has allowed the basic needs of our community to go unfunded while the 1% profits from our suffering. While the ports represent the production and distribution that creates wealth for the 1%, they are also symbolic. The ports are a symbol of how the 99% goes to work every day and yet struggle to make ends meet. We will shut down work on December 12th to show that the workers are the engines of our economy. And we are done creating wealth that bypasses us and goes into the pocket of the wealthiest 1%.
Okay, and finally, our last speaker is Arthur Stamoulis. He's a trade justice organizer.
Good morning. Again, my name is Arthur Stamoulis, S-T-A-M-O-U-L-I-S. I'm here today as a member of the Occupy movement, but my day job involves some trade policy analysis, and I was asked to put Monday's action in a bit broader context. You know, up and down the West Coast, we've got ships and shipping containers coming into our ports full and far too often leaving empty. And the reason for that is because of trade policies like NAFTA, the WTO, that were written by and for large corporations and make it easier for jobs to be shipped around the world to wherever labor is the most exploited and environmental regulations are the weakest. You know, the logic of these corporations, why make something in Oregon when you can pay workers even less to make it in Mexico? And why make it in Mexico when you can pay workers even less to make it in China? And today they're asking, you know, why make things in China when we can pay workers even less to make them in Vietnam? That's the twisted logic of these corporations and the policies that our government is putting in place to make their jobs easier. And the results of this are clear to anyone who's willing to look. I'm going to talk for a second about the impacts locally, but these are impacts that are felt around the world, and we shouldn't be fooled for a second that working people anywhere benefit from this, because these trade agreements are devastating the lives of working people, family farmers, and the unemployed worldwide. You know, since NAFTA and these other trade agreements were enacted, our trade deficit has exploded. It was over $800 billion in 2008. Things continue on their current course. It's soon going to be over $1 trillion a year. A trade deficit that large means job loss and depressed wages for working people in this country. The U.S. Labor Department has already certified over 2.5 million jobs as being offshore. And that number doesn't even include service sector work, like the call centers and the computer programming jobs that are continually being shipped overseas. You know, poll after poll shows that the American public opposes these type of trade agreements that ship U.S. jobs overseas, and yet our elected officials keep passing them. Just this fall, Senator Ron Wyden and Congressman Earl Blumenauer voted for the largest free trade agreement since NAFTA. You know, these are trade agreements that the government's own studies show are going to expand the trade deficit. And it's clear, you know, the Occupy movement has been saying since day one, our elected officials are too accountable to Wall Street and not accountable to their constituents. And this is a dynamic that continues and is very clear in terms of our trade policy. And that's why Monday's action is so important. You know, the ports aren't just a symbol of corporate power, they're actually a hub, a central spot where corporate power is exercised. And on Monday, we're going to show Wall Street, you know, which thinks just because it has most of Congress in its pocket, that they control the economy. We're going to show them that the real economy only operates with the good graces of the working class. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you. That's all of our speakers today. We can entertain a couple of questions if there are relevant questions.
What do you plan to have out there on Monday?
We plan to have hundreds and hopefully thousands, enough to make a real community picnic that will be effective.
What's labor leadership's position? Labor's leadership's position. Leadership of labor, where do they stand on that?
Occupy Wall Street now represents labor leadership. But I think you're asking specifically about the ports. As you know, there have been official statements released from the ILWU that they cannot legally endorse this due to their contract. Nevertheless, we have been in contact with many of the rank and file, longshore and other port workers, the truckers, and they are down for this. They warmly welcome us, they support us, and we fully expect that they will do the right thing and not cross the community picket.
Are there specific businesses at the port you guys are targeting, or specific industries like Portland Port specifically that you guys are targeting?
The question is about specific businesses on the port that we're targeting. We're going to... Yes, SSA is one. EGT, as I mentioned, that has offices here at the World Trade Center, and also business down at the port. But in general, we're aiming at the 1%. So it's the port business. But yes, we're calling out EGT and SSA just to show solidarity with the longshore.
Do you intend to have this go on and then you're going to leave at sundown, or are you going to stay there
The intent,
the day after?
the initial intent, our plan is one day, December 12th, morning shift and afternoon shift.
When you say the port, where do you mean physically? Like geographically? What river?
I know
Long Island? Or?
it's a big port.
Yes.
We have two terminals in mind. Okay, we're not going to reveal everything today, but they're the port. And remember, this is not just Portland. This is many cities in California, Oregon, Washington, and including Vancouver, BC.
What about Vancouver? What about Vancouver, Washington?
We've also heard up in BC.
Washington.
And including Anchorage, Alaska, although I'm not sure they're going to follow through.
No, I was asking about across the river at Vancouver, Washington.
They'll be joining our picket here in Portland.
But you're not going to be physically there?
My understanding is that they will not be physically in Vancouver, Washington, that they'll be joining our picket here in Portland and driving to join the picket in Longview.
So Longview is included. Okay, thank you very much. We'll be here if you have details.
If you need a press release with more information and the logistics of the day, come see me, please.